Laboratory safety, hierarchy, risk control. Lab safety begins before you go to the lab. 6 levels in hierarchy of safety risk control in laboratory. Elimination, learning objective 1. Isolation, learning objective 2. Substitution, learning objective 3. Engineering control, learning objective 4. Admin control, learning objective 5. PPE, learning objective 6. Elimination, most effective. Elimination, remove the hazard. Isolation, isolate the work area. Example, X-ray machine in restricted room. Substitution, use less hazardous one. Admin control general precautions. The following are some general precautions concerning laboratory safety. These may serve as guidelines from which schools can work out a set of laboratory rules to be followed by every laboratory user, as well as to equip laboratories with necessary safety facilities or equipment. Schools should communicate safety precautions to laboratory users through effective means, example, posters, signage where appropriate. Admin control, students' discipline in the laboratory. Students should follow strictly the instructions given by the teacher. Students should not enter the laboratory unless the teacher is present. Students should not remove anything from the laboratory without permission. Students should not rush around or play in the laboratory. Experiments underway should not be left unattended. Laboratory reagents and chemicals should be returned to the appropriate places immediately after use with their labels facing the front. Students should immediately report all accidents and breakage to their teachers. Students should not suck fingers or pencil when in the laboratory since they may be contaminated with chemicals as well as germs. Agricultural personal precautions to be taken by all laboratory users. Eating, drinking, and smoking are strictly forbidden in the laboratory preparation room. Long hair, loose ties, or other loose clothing items must be properly secured. It is not recommended that students wear contact lenses in the laboratory areas. Special care is needed when handling chemicals. It is important to foresee the potential hazards in each case and to take the proper precautions. Wash hands after experiments, especially those involving the use of chemicals, living organisms, and radioactive substances. Admin control, personal precautions to be taken by all laboratory users. Extra care should be taken when handling pollen and fur. Pipette fillers should always be used to help transfer liquid chemicals. Mouth pipetting is strictly forbidden. If syringes are used for measuring or transferring liquid, needles should not be used if possible. If needles are used, special precautions should be taken to prevent injury. Heavy objects should be lifted with correct posture. Ask others for assistance whenever necessary. When carrying heavy objects, especially large bottles containing dangerous substances, an appropriate carrier or trolley should be used as far as possible. 10. Appropriate safety facilities and personal protective equipment should be used whenever necessary. Please refer to the section 4.4 and 4.5 respectively for details. 11. During demonstrations, safety screens should be used to separate students from apparatus when hot liquids or chemicals are likely to splash. Engineering control, housekeeping. The laboratory and the preparation room should be kept clean and tidy all times. Broken glass and chemical spillages must receive immediate attention. Broken glass should be placed in a separate container and clearly labeled. All exits and passages should be kept clear, and none of the exit doors should be locked when the laboratory is in use. Maps showing detailed escape routes should be conspicuously displayed in each laboratory. The lighting in the laboratory and preparation room should be good and sufficient. Working under insufficient lighting can be dangerous. Bunsen burners, rubber taping, and gas tapes should be given safety checks yearly. Engineering control housekeeping. Good ventilation in the laboratory should be maintained with an annual inspection. Fume couplers should be also given an annual safety check. Every reagent bottle should be clearly labeled. All old and blurred labels should be replaced without delay. Flammable and reactive chemicals must be securely stored in strong couplers under lock and key and away from the heat sources. Such chemicals should be inspected regularly. An updated chemical inventory should be kept. Incompatible chemicals should be stored separately. Food or drink should not be kept in the laboratory except for experiment purposes. In such cases, a label with for experiment use only should be affixed. Posters on laboratory safety and rules should be displayed in prominent positions to promote the awareness of laboratory safety. Before leaving the laboratory unattended for a long period of time, all water tapes, electrical switches, and gas mains should be turned off, and all windows and doors should be locked. Adequate safety facilities must be provided and kept in a state of instant readiness at all times. Science teachers and laboratory technicians should be familiar with the usage of the safety facilities, firefighting equipment, safety screens, spill control kit, first aid box and eye wash unit, fume cupboard. And engineering control, safety facilities, firefighting equipment. Every laboratory must be equipped with at least one appropriate fire extinguisher, either the carbon dioxide or dry powder type. Fire extinguishers should be inspected by a registered contractor at least once in every 12 months. Firefighting equipment should be kept in good condition and in state of instant readiness at all times. All laboratory staff all laboratory staff should be familiar with the operation and handling of all firefighting equipment. It should be used when demonstrating experiments involving potentially violent or exothermic reactions. The safety screen separates the experimental setup from observers and guards against splashing chemicals or broken glass fragments reaching the students. Engineering control safety facility spill control kit. Each laboratory should have at least one spill control kit to clean up the chemical spillage. Suitable personal protective equipment should be worn when using the kit. The waste material from cleanup of chemical spills must be properly disposed of. Engineering control safety facilities fume cupboard. The fume cupboard is constantly required for carrying out of laboratory work which may generate unpleasant, toxic, or flammable fume and gas. Experimental items inside a fume cupboard should be placed at least 15 centimeters from the front opening of the cupboard. Personal protective equipment (PPE). Students, teachers, and laboratory staff when working in the laboratory should wear suitable personal protective equipment (PPE) in all circumstances whenever there is any potential risk for bodily injury. All PPE should be kept clean and properly maintained in a serviceable condition. Defective PPE should be replaced immediately. PPE, safety spectacles and goggles. Each laboratory should be equipped with enough safety spectacles for use by every student. Safety spectacles must be put on when conducting experiments involving heating chemicals, handling acids, alkalis, and other corrosive chemicals, working with glass apparatus under pressure, carrying out potentially violent or exothermic reactions, or when there is any potential risk of eye injury. PPE face shield. Facial for use by teachers in demonstration. Facial for use by teachers in demonstrations or by laboratory technicians in preparatory work. It can be used when dispensing large volume of concentrated acids, alkalis, or corrosive chemicals and opening containers which are under pressure. A face shield provides maximum protection for the eyes and face with a very wide angle of vision. Protective gloves and laboratory gown. Appropriate protective gloves should be worn for hand protection while handling corrosive chemicals, hot objects, microorganisms, etc. Chemical resistant gloves made of appropriate chemicals such as nitrile should be worn when handling chemicals. Gloves made out of cotton or heat-resistant material should be used for hot objects. Users should check the integrity of gloves by usual inspection or inflating them with air before usage. Damaged gloves should be replaced immediately. Protective gloves and laboratory gown. Laboratory gowns should be worn for body protection whenever necessary. Torn or rag gowns can be dangerous instead of protective. Such damaged items should be replaced immediately. Respirator. Respirator users should receive a medical examination, lung function test prior to using a respirator and once annually thereafter. Users should also be fit tested to select an appropriate size of respirator. If it's decided a respirator is to be used, it should be equipped with suitable filter cartridges based on the hazardous chemicals to be handled. The respirator should be worn when operating involving hazardous vapors or gases have to perform outside a fume cupboard. Example, transfer of chemical waste. Remember, safety first. Thank you.